Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Colleen, MikeColleen.com. I just finished this video. I'm coming back to put this in the beginning. This video kicks ass. It starts to come together towards the end of the video. Watch it. It's going to change your life. Alright, so over the last year or two, I've been making a lot of videos about narcissist abuse to help you to recognize them, to recognize their strategies, and the things that they do, the tactics and strategies, so you can get out and get away from them before too much damage has been done. Now here's the deal. There have been things that I've heard over the years, the decades, and it was just so bizarre that I couldn't really... I understood what they said on a surface level, but it's like I really couldn't relate to it. Like, well, why would anyone do something like that? Just doesn't make any sense. Because a lot of things narcissists do are just flat out mean and cruel, and sometimes it's just really backwards and dumb. Like, why would they do that? Don't they realize they're screwing themselves over? So your brain has a hard time believing this stuff. Like, that doesn't make sense. They're screwing themselves over. And here's why you have a hard time understanding this. You have what I'm going to call a normally organized brain, or a healthy brain, a healthy system. So in a million years, like, well, why would I tear down my best friend if they're on their way to becoming a multimillionaire? Because if they get really rich, then, you know, they can help me out financially if I need a loan, or if I want to start a business, or maybe they could teach me how they did it. So nothing about narcissists makes any sense. So and that's one of the hardest things for people who are attacked by narcissists. It's the hardest thing in the world to recognize, because you're like, yeah, I see what they're doing, but there's no way they could be doing this consciously and on purpose. This is just ass backwards. Alright, so one of the things I've said in the past, I've probably made one or two videos, maybe three, I think, I don't know, but definitely one or two, is I compare narcissists to like wild animals like tigers, lions, and leopards, and, you know, black leopards, etc. Because when you hear that they stalk you, your brain is like, well, what do you mean they stalk me? Like, yeah, your first thought is probably like lions, like a black leopard, like slowly stalking its prey, right? And you're like, no, they don't. What are you talking about? Well, they do it through social media, and they will literally physically, they will literally drive around the corner and hide around the corner, hide behind a bush. They will literally do stuff like that. They will follow you downtown, and it, because they're trying to gather information on you, okay? So they can eventually use it to manipulate you, like the love bombing phase especially, and also things they can use against you to hurt you and all that stuff. So that's not what this video is about. So one thing that it's hard for humans to understand is because narcissists are using it's called the lower reptilian brain. So you got the two frontal lobes, the left hemisphere, which is the logical one, and then the right hemisphere, the creative, emotional, spiritual processor. But then you have on the brainstem, you have this smaller instinctual fight or flight reptilian brain, and this is where narcissists are operating off of. Now I'm going to share something with you in a moment here that makes this clear. In the past, I've used, like, well, look at what does a lion do? They stalk their prey, they hide behind bushes, and they watch, and they literally look for the weakest ones in the herd. So what narcissists do, they're looking for your weaknesses in you. So I worked with a lady about a year ago, and she just looked at me. She goes, it just doesn't make any sense. And she said, when I try to come to terms, you know, sit down and have a rational conversation, they just, like, it's like you can't talk to them about this. And she used the word, like, you know, like, to use reason. And she goes, it's like he couldn't even understand it, or he just didn't care. So I literally had to, I didn't scream, but I raised my voice and I said, because they can't. And she goes, what do you mean they can't? I go, they're not human. They're not like you and me. They're not using the larger left and right hemispheres. They're blocked off from that. They're stuck basically using the lower reptilian brain and communicating through the logical processor. So here's my point of this whole video. The purpose of the video is that it's really hard to relate to, like, why are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense. It makes sense when you actually understand they're using a different part of their brain that literally is the predator brain. They literally think and plan and hunt like a predator, literally. Because the reptilian brain, that part of your brain, is exactly like wild animals, the ones that hunt and kill and pre-plan and premeditate and all that stuff. All right, so I came across a podcast, Joe Rogan podcast. It was a YouTube short is what it was. And Joe Rogan started talking about, I think they're chimpanzees, and he was talking about how powerful they are. They're 5 times, he goes, essentially, they think almost like humans. He goes, they plan stuff, and they figure stuff out. He goes, they're really smart, and when you look in their face, they kind of look like a human. And he goes, but the thing is, it's like they're like a human. They've got 2 arms, 2 legs, etc. And then he goes, but they're 5 times more powerful and stronger than a human being, so they could literally rip you apart. And he started talking about this guy that actually owned a fully grown chimpanzee, and he's like, and what happened was, I forget this part of the story, but he had to, I think the police or the law said, hey, you can't keep one of those in your house, that's illegal or something. First, I don't remember if that was it, but for some reason he had to bring this chimpanzee to like this animal, not resort, but like area where they keep animals, okay? So he had to bring him there, okay? So what happened was, from this point forward, this man had to go and visit his chimpanzee there, and he couldn't bring him home, and you could see the chimpanzee was like, well, why? Like, what's going on here? Like, how come you're not bringing me back home? So here's what happened. So the guy would go to visit the chimpanzee at the shelter, and he brought him a cake. So now you understand, this was an area where all the chimpanzees were being held, and other chimpanzees were there in other cages. So what happened is, all the other chimpanzees took this personal, and they're like, wait a minute, so you brought some cake, but you didn't bring me any cake? And this enraged them. So what ended up happening was, when the guy came back another time, all of these chimpanzees figured out a way to break out of their cages, and they broke out of their cages and they attacked this man, and they freaking... Now this is important. Listen to what he says here. It's kind of gruesome, but listen to what he says. He says these chimpanzees... Now I saw another study about this about a year ago, and it was the same thing. What they did was they bit off his hands, they bit off his fingers, his genitals, his feet, and his face. Now here's the important part. The reason why they did this is because they were trying to take away from him what he needs and what he wants. Now there's 2 things that I started recognizing while listening to this, and I was like, wait a minute. That's exactly what a narcissist does. So let's say you do something nice for someone and the narcissist sees it. It really will effing enrage them. Like they can't, if you notice, like they're just boiling underneath their skin, and they went from smiley to just kind of serious. So one of the things I do is every month I send money to a young lady in the Philippines to help her and her son, because they are absolutely destitute. Well, I went to go and send some money, and he's like, well, why are you doing that? And he just was like really fucking pissed off, and I'm like, what the fuck's the big deal? And as I'm listening to this thing with Joe Rogan, I was like, God, that's exactly what it was like when he's explaining how the other chimpanzees was like, wait a minute, you didn't bring me any cake? And they take it really personal, like you attacked them. Just like a narcissist does. They get really enraged when you do something nice for someone else. They take it like it was a personal attack. And in their mind, they're justified to come after you and to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. Now here's the second part. So he talks about how these chimpanzees, the reason why they attacked the hands and the feet and the face and the genitals is because these are things that we need and things that we want out of life. And that's exactly what a narcissist does. They will go after the things that you like, value, and need to survive in life, such as your job, your career. They'll take away your friends, they'll turn people against you, and on and on and on, just like a chimpanzee. So one of the things Joe says is that chimps recognize your need for your hands and your feet and your face, and to see people and to express and communicate, and also your genitals to have sex. So this is why they take those things away from you, because they are just really enraged. And when they're doing this to you, they're looking at you with absolute rage, like they're fucking pissed off at you. Because in their effed up mind, well, you did something nice to this person, you didn't do something nice to me. They take it like you literally did something purposely to attack them. So now they're going to attack you, just like a narcissist. So then Joe goes on to say, they don't just try to kill you, they try to take away what it means to be a human. And that's the reason why a lot of you guys have been following my channel and watching other people's channels on narcissist abuse on YouTube, is because you lost something, but you didn't know what it was. Something changed, and it's like something's gone. And here's what it is. They dehumanized you. They made you feel like you're not human, like you have no emotions or feelings, or like everything about you is just wrong. They literally took that away from you, in a sense. So this is why you ended up spending a lot of time alone. You didn't want to get hurt, but you also felt like you weren't, you may not have said this, but you felt like you were unlovable or unworthy. There was this absolute emptiness, darkness inside you. But there's good news. There's really good news. You will come out of it. I promise you that. Now, the reason why I say that is I went through it and I'm out of it. I am laughing again. Like I'm out. Okay, here's kind of the funny thing. I've always been an extremely social person. And that's one of the things that just really enrages narcissists. Now, when someone gets upset when I'm social with people, I cut them out of my circle. Like, yep, you're gone. Bye-bye. Your cutoff game has to be excellent. You got to be, you have to be willing to cut off your own brothers, sisters, best friend, girlfriend, husband, wife. You've got to be like, oh, really? Okay, that you're showing narcissistic tendencies, so you got to go. Bye-bye. Because all they're going to do is destroy you. So here's the deal. This stage, when you're alone for a year, 2, 3 years, you're actually developing boundaries, really, really good boundaries. You're watching people, you're listening to people in a way that you've never done before, even if you think you're not, because you feel really empty and depressed, but you are tuning in and picking up on everything people are saying and doing. So here's what happens. You begin to develop this I'm going to call it like boundary, but it has flow to it. In other words, like right now, the way I am with people, like I just crack people, like I kind of catch myself off guard. Because like I was at the gas station, I just said something real quick to this guy that's real, okay, here's what I said. I said, hey man, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah. I go, hey, is the gas any good here? And he gives me this blank look. Wait, is gas good here? Like he couldn't even function. He goes, what? I do, I'm just messing with you. He goes, dude, I don't even know what to say. So I've been doing it. I went to Chipotle. I did that to guy. Okay, the guy was, I asked him if he could cook the burrito pad, the pad, I forget what it's called. You know, the thing they wrap, the wrap, I'm going to call it. I go, hey man, can you cook that just a little extra? Because sometimes it's practically doughy when they do it. He goes, yeah, I can't, man, because then it gets too hard and I can't roll it up and it causes. I go, no, I don't mean like, can you cook it for like a whole hour? I go, I mean just like a couple, and then he just bust up laughing. He goes, dude, you got me. He goes, yeah, I'll cook a little longer, bro. He threw in some extra meat and all that stuff. So here's the deal. When you start coming out of it, you are going to enjoy life more than you did before. If you need therapeutic help, call me. If you need support, get a hold of me. This is what I've been training in for 30 years now. I mean, I've been doing this professionally for 3 decades. So if not, find an energy healer. Find someone who can help you to heal this emotionally and energetically. Because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The thing is, what I'm going to do, I'm going to reach down that tunnel. I'm going to pull you out of the damn tunnel, okay, into the light. So here's what's going to happen, man. Like, so a few months back, okay, maybe 4, 5, 6 months back, I would just like open up to people that I just met, didn't know, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, what the fuck am I doing? I was like, hey man, I got to go. And boom, I would just bolt away. And people are like, what the fuck's wrong with that guy? Because I was like, whoa, what am I doing? Because after the narcissist abuse, I had just shut down and shut people off for way more than a year, probably 2+ years. Or I'd engage in a conversation, I'd totally let my guard down. I don't know if I'd say let my guard down, but just laughing and goofing around, just being, just silly. And I'd walk away, and then on the way home, like, wait, I don't even know that person. Like, wait, what the hell did I just do? So here's really what's going on. Your unconscious mind is gathering information, and it's giving feedback to you. So you are going through a learning/healing process, because part of the healing is learning. And to understand, it's important to understand that the healing process, the learning process, is an unconscious process. Your unconscious mind is gathering tens of thousands of bits of information from every conversation, every YouTube video, every interaction, things that happen in the past, and your brain is making all these connections. So a lot of you will contact me and say, you'll make these realizations. In fact, someone actually contacted me, posted on my video that I made the other day. This video is taking off. I posted it, I believe it was July 1st, maybe it was June 30th, the day before. The name of the video is What Happens When the Scapegoat Leaves the Family Group, and it says Destroying Narcissist Abuse. So they contacted me on there. Let me actually go to the comments. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. Alright, so what they said was, name's Corinne, and she said, just now realizing my sister is a narcissist. So what ends up happening is your brain starts putting the pieces together, and you look back and you're like, oh, so I wasn't a bad person. My family was lying to me, or my sister was making me out to be the bad person because they were the bad person and they didn't want anyone to see it, especially me. So they twisted things around. So here's the point. You start to begin to heal these childhood wounds by understanding and learning and going, oh, that's what narcissists, oh, they were narcissists. Oh, it wasn't me. So a lot of these emotions and pain just goes away over a period of time. It may not be in one learning, but you gather all this information and you start to realize what was really going on. And this is the healing process. Here's the deal, guys. You have got to understand something. You are at a higher level than the average person. You are at a much higher level than narcissists, okay? You are on a level, God, how do I say this? Yeah, you are leveling up, but that's not really even, that doesn't really state what's really going on. You're not leveling up like the average person. You are leveling up almost like an angel. In fact, I want to say you're pretty much probably an earth angel. You're leveling up on massive levels. You're going to such a level that okay, I'm going to say this. The average person couldn't even relate to what you're saying. I was talking to a guy today at Verizon, a cell phone company, and I kind of was beating around the bush saying, oh, well, and he asked me, well, why are you asking these questions? And I didn't use the word narcissist, but eventually he goes, oh, yeah, well, and he was letting me know, like, I know what you're talking about. And so I looked at him and go, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He goes, yeah. I go, so you know what narcissists are? He goes, oh, yeah, they're sociopaths or this, that. And so one of the realizations I had, and I think I even said it to him, I go, if you were to say this stuff, like I was talking about how they stalk you, how they'll get other people to stalk you, they may even pay people to come after you or to date you and do all this crazy shit. If you were to say this to the average person, they would think, dude, I think you're just paranoid, man. Because, now here's the weird part, because you used to be this way too. You were like, why would someone do that? That just sounds nuts. Until it happens to you. Now here's the realization I've had over the last year, maybe 2 years. The majority of people go through life and they don't want to see the truth of reality. That's why people are asleep. They're terrified of reality. So they're just like, yeah, I don't believe that. Yep, no, people like, dude. And yet you've got movies, you got TV shows, you got the nightly news every night talking about stalkers, talking about rapists and murderers, and on and on. And yet, why would someone do that? It just sounds nuts. Because there's a lot of nutty people out there. So what you have done, whether you realize it or not, you decided to take a look at reality. You stopped looking the other way because you realized looking the other way doesn't make it go away. It just makes it happen more and more often. And you get hurt more and more, worse and worse. And one time you finally, it scared you or hurt you so bad, you took a look because you got hurt really bad. You are the brave ones. Those other people that live in denial, they're not brave. They're terrified of reality. Here's the good news about taking a look at reality. Now you can navigate around the obstacles of life, the bad people, the narcissists, the sociopaths, the psychopaths. Now you get to go, oh, I recognize this. Yep, I'm out of here. Peace out. And your life becomes better and it becomes funner. What you may not have recognized yet is what you're doing is called alchemy. Look at the picture. That's why I picked that picture, because the guy in the background is doing alchemy. She's dreaming, the alchemist is on the top, and all this energy on the right side is going on. You are an alchemist and you didn't even realize it. You turned all of this around into bettering yourself, into learning, into taking it to the next level. In other words, an alchemist will take something that is mundane, something that's shit, something that's painful, something that's horrifying, something that's horrible, and they take this and they alchemize it into something beautiful, something powerful, something wealthy. In the old days in the Middle East, an alchemist was someone that could take, I forget what kind of material it was, and they could turn it into gold. Okay, so they would that's like the original old way of explaining. Well, what is alchemy? Well, it's turning one element into a better element. You were going through life with your eyes closed, your ears closed, your brain half turned off, and now you took this pain and you turned everything around. You turned everything on. Life becomes more meaningful because you tuned into the right brain, which is all about the five senses: see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. It's about the richness of life. It's not eating bland food. It's adding sugar, adding cinnamon, adding spice, adding salt, pepper, and all the other flavors of the world, and all the smells and the scents. Life becomes a much more flavorful and interesting experience once you come out of this tunnel. The most important thing is you begin to experience love on a much, much deeper level because you begin to value yourself. You begin to defend yourself. What does it mean to love yourself? It means to be like, oh, I'm not going to let people treat me this way. I'm walking away. See, when you don't have love for yourself, you allow other people to abuse you. And a lot of you, that's why you're on this channel, because that's what got you here. So you spent a lot of time alone. Well, it might have been out of fear, but you start to learn to live alone so you don't rely on people. Now you're independent. You don't need someone. So the next relationship isn't based on I'm alone and I'm empty and I need someone to fill me up emotionally. Oh God. No, you learned how to do that. You learned how to start a craft. So you started reading books again. You started a hobby. You started, doing whatever. Maybe you started an online business. You just started developing different patterns, going for walks at night or in the morning, and started filling your own life with all these different things that you always could have done, but you relied on other people to fulfill those spaces, which thus gave them power over you. So now you don't need other people. Number two, you also begin to love yourself. You begin to be kind to yourself. You begin to actually curl up in a ball when you're sad, and you begin to hold those parts of you and you cry with them. You nurture yourself. You become big. It's like everyone is like a big ball of energy. Your energy becomes to be more loving, more kind, more self-compassionate, more self-loving. And guess what? People want to be around that. People that are negative to themselves, I could never do that. Oh, I'm a loser. No one likes me. All this negative stuff. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody. So now that you start taking care of yourself by blocking the narcissist and doing all these other things you develop over the next year, 2, 3 years, all of a sudden you've kind of developed this way of living where I don't need anyone. So people come into your life not because you need them, but because you like them and because they like who you are, because they want to be with you, not because they need you, not because you need them. Now, this is what's called interdependence. When you're born dependent. You need your mother and your father to feed you and protect and provide, otherwise you'll die. But then eventually you're supposed to get to a stage of what's called independence. And a lot of people don't get there till they're 30, 40, even 50 years old. Some people do it a little bit younger. So you become independent. Well, now a lot of people, I'm independent. I don't need a man. I don't need this. I don't need that. Well, that's actually a dependent person fighting for the independence, but they don't know how to get it. Just by saying you're independent and I don't need someone else, that does not mean you're independent. So essentially, in psychology, you learn about something called Maslow's hierarchy of ideas, or hierarchy of needs. Dependence, independence, and then intro dependence with other people. So now you are at a higher level where you come together and you begin to be with people not because you need them, but because you guys can help each other get more out of life. The book by Stephen R. Covey back in I think it was the 90s, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it goes over this exact same thing where it's like you go from independent or dependent, independent, and then interdependent, where now you're working together and now your life really begins to expand. Because you're not like in, oh, what's the word? You're not in bondage with these people. You are free to be with them and they're free to be with you because you're helping each other out. Again, let me emphasize, not because you have to do it, not because they're dependent or because you're dependent, but because you're both independent beings who are now rising to the next level of choosing to work with other people, whether it's a love relationship, a marriage, two businesses, two people starting a business, working together, etc. Now here's the deal. A narcissist is not at that level. A narcissist is at the absolute bottom of dependency. Now you have to understand, within each level there are levels. Narcissists are at the survival level, which is the very bottom level. And what they tried to do was hold you back to use you to get what they wanted, but it didn't work for them. And the reason why you finally snapped out of it is because you were already going through this independent stage and you're looking at them like, what the hell? So you finally, it's like you made this decision, you finally broke off from depending on anyone no matter what. And you were basically declaring, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit, I'm going to do it on my own. And thus, you entered the independent stage. You even avoided people who wanted to be friends, who wanted to support you, who wanted to go to the movies. You're like, no. Because you were spending time alone. That's why you go through what you think is a dark phase of being alone for 2 or 3 years. No. Number 1, you're healing. Number 2, you're learning. Number 3, you have been spending time meditating, deep breathing, exercising, maybe learning how to eat better, or maybe not even eating better, but actually allowing yourself to have some popcorn and cookies once in a while and some chocolate milk or hot chocolate, because you're trying to make your life more enjoyable. And that's the key to independence, is you don't need another person to make you happy anymore because you know how to do it all by yourself. You begin to enjoy time alone. And you come to a point where you're like, man, a lot of you have said this to me, either on the phone, emails, or even in the edit box in the YouTube videos, like, yeah, I'm never going to get to a relationship again. I finally found my peace. And I'm not going to give that up to no one. No way. And that is a form of absolute independence. You're like, nope, this is non-negotiable. You coming into my life, bringing chaos and hell and violence and yelling and screaming and argument. Nope, done with that. I found my peace. I like to be alone. Which is just the absolute solidity of finally going to the highest level of the independent stage. Well, now it's like, yep, you don't need anyone for love. You don't need anyone for creativity, for happiness, for fun. You have finally found and developed your independence. You've also developed your cutoff game, where the minute someone starts being negative, cutting you down, gaslighting you, lying, bullshitting, belittling you, shaming you, you're like, nope, done with this, peace out, see ya, hasta pasta, because you realize like they're not going to change and it's not my job to change them. I'm moving on with my life because I want to be happy. And then you realize over living that way for a few more months, like, wait a minute, I can actually involve other people in my life. I can start businesses, go to movies, build friendships. Because you realize that this person starts to be a gaslighter, a liar, manipulator, starts doing negative stuff, you're like, man, I have no problem walking away from someone who's being negative because I'm not going to that level anymore. And now you're on this stage of interdependence where you can begin to develop your creativity working with people. Now, it doesn't have to work out. It's like, okay, well, this isn't working out. And they may not even be a negative person, but you might realize like you have different values or beliefs or something's not clicking. So you're like, hey, man, nice to meet you. I wish you the best on your journeys and good luck. And you move on until you meet people that you can work better, more fluidly with, where people are happier. And the process becomes this enjoyable, creative process, whether you're making money or doing whatever it is you're doing. And unlike the narcissist, you wish them well. You're not attacked. You're not going, I got to get revenge because they walked away from me. Rawr. No, you're on a higher, healthier level. God bless you guys. Remember, click subscribe, click like, make a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And remember, you are awesome.